Today I'm diving into a topic that can make even the most confident among us feel slightly awkward: showing off. Let's face it, as educators or even as people, we're not exactly trained to show off. In fact, as children, we were told it was impolite. But here's the thing: as business owners, showing off is actually pretty crucial. It's how we build trust, it's how we really prove our expertise, and ultimately, it helps us attract clients. So, in this episode, we're going to dive into some ways you can show off without feeling uncomfortable. And of course, I'll give you some practical examples as well. Welcome to the Upgrade Your Education Business podcast. I'm your host, Sumantha, and I'm so pleased you're here. As an education business owner myself and a former teacher, I understand the nuances that only apply to us. So in this podcast, I share fluff-free, tailored and actionable ideas that you can mould to suit your needs. If you'd like to take this conversation further, please do reach out. I would love to meet you. And finally, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review. That way, you'll be helping me help more people. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy. Firstly, let's have a little pep talk, because if you're not motivated to show off, then you simply won't. The truth is that anyone can say that they're good at anything or that they do anything. I could wake up tomorrow and decide I'm going to be a private detective. I could change my LinkedIn headline, set up a Facebook page, but does that prove that I'm any good? Does it prove that I have any experience? Of course not. And that's why we've become savvy consumers. Most of us have had our fingers burnt by investing in something that simply didn't deliver. So how do we prove to our potential clients that we know what we're doing, that we genuinely have the expertise and the results to evidence that we're good at what we do? The simple answer is we need to show off. Here's another way to look at it. Showing off is like writing a thank you letter to yourself. This is something I heard someone called Lara Acosta talk about, and I really liked this reframe. It's a way to really acknowledge the impact that you make, to acknowledge your achievements. And let me tell you something that I know you already know. There are people who are with less experience than you who are doing this all the time. So if you're making an impact, if you're making a difference, you owe it to yourself and to your audience to shout about it. Now let's talk about the awkward part: how to actually show off without feeling uncomfortable, but while still giving your audience all those things they need to trust you. The trick here is to reframe it. Instead of seeing it as you being boastful, see it as you sharing a story or celebrating an achievement. You're celebrating your impact. Maybe you're celebrating your amazing clients, your amazing students. Here are some ways to do it. The first is to actually share the story behind a particular testimonial. Now, it's important to separate testimonials from case studies here. A case study doesn't have to be presented really formally, but a testimonial might be some kind words from a client, whereas a case study actually kind of documents the progress someone has made. Usually there's something very tangible there. So this student came to me with a certain grade, this is the grade they ended on, or this client was struggling with this particular challenge, whereas within 4 weeks, this is what they got. So a case study is a little bit more tangible, and your client's words don't even need to be a part of it. This is where you're documenting and presenting that journey that client has taken with you. So I'm sort of bunching them together, but I wanted to make that distinction really clear, because this does apply to both scenarios. All too often, I see people share kind words from clients and so on with a caption like, "This is why I love my job." Now, if you're not looking for new clients, if you're not looking to really establish your authority and position yourself as a go-to, and you just want to share, that's absolutely fine. But if you actually want to use it as a business tool, if you want to use it to really embed yourself as that go-to for your audience, then you need to tell the story behind that testimonial. You need to bring it to life. You need to make it impactful. You can often share the transformation story. For example, try and document the challenges that student or that client was facing before they started working with you. Identify the specific ways that you helped them, because you might offer something, but how you deliver it will always be different per client, particularly with services. And then, of course, what was the result of all of that work? On a more personal note, you can talk about why a testimonial is particularly meaningful to you. I remember receiving a testimonial from a masterminder, and they were saying how nice the wraparound support was. And this was ages ago. This was actually maybe going back a couple of years, and yet those words, they still stick in my mind because it was really meaningful. Someone had just articulated the very thing I was really trying to achieve. I really wanted to sort of combat the downsides, if you like, of group coaching and make sure people still had access to me, that they felt really listened to, that they weren't just a number. So when someone actually named it, when they called it wraparound support, it was really, really meaningful because I just thought all this hard work, all this thought that I'm putting behind this, it's being felt and it's being recognized. And that's a really great feeling. So get creative with this. Get creative with the angle you're going to take with that story. Maybe there's a really unique impact that you are making as, say, a tutor that you specifically couldn't make as a teacher. And maybe that's the part that you're really honing in on to show your audience the value that you're bringing to the table, that yes, your child might go to school and they're getting this support and that's really important. But here's how I complement it. And it's in a way that simply can't be achieved in school. This isn't a criticism on the teacher or on the school. It's just the nature of tuition. So when you really dive into that, you're educating your audience on what it is that you offer and the value that you bring to the table. And I sometimes see content around, parents, here are 3 reasons why online learning is so effective. Here are 3 reasons why you need a tutor. Well, how much more impactful would it be if you showed actual evidence, if you actually told a story that's really specific over giving 3 generic examples or reasons? I mean, I don't know about you, but when I see posts like that, I scroll past because actually I don't need to be convinced. I either believe in it or I don't, or I'm interested in it. So if I think that if I'm not sure if something's valuable, that story will change my mind, not 3 generic benefits. And when you are communicating your messaging through things like marketing, that's actually a really important concept. To put yourself on the other side, actually think about how you receive different types of messages, how you react to different types of content. Because if you feel that way, then chances are other people will as well. So you can take all the training in the world, but that piece of knowledge is actually really powerful. Another way to really show off without feeling a bit uncomfortable is to show snippets of your work. Actually share the kind of work that you do. I'm an online tutor, I'm an online business mentor, and it's not unusual for me every now and again to share an actual screenshot mid-session. I've shared little video snippets before as well. If you work online, then this kind of content's really easy to generate. Even if you work in person, let's say you're an in-person tutor, taking a picture or a little video, a very short video of you marking work or that student's hands doing a kind of activity, you can keep the student anonymous and you can still show evidence of what a real life lesson with you is like. And that's really important because visualization is a huge element of selling through your marketing, because it gives people that try before you buy. For that moment, it gives them an opportunity to immerse themselves and imagine what it might be like to work with you. If right now I asked you to imagine, I don't know, imagine yourself buying a coffee machine. Just imagine it just right now for a moment. You're probably imagining what it might look like, where you might put it. You might even imagine you using it. We've naturally visualized in our minds. So when we help our audience actually visualize by giving them something to use, then it's really powerful because it's less of that convincing angle and it's more, let me show you what this is like. And if you're interested, come and have a chat with me. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent here. I know that you feel proud of how you teach and how you deliver your services and your products. So demonstrating that can be showing off without feeling uncomfortable, without feeling boastful. And you don't just have to talk about things that are really tangible. Let's imagine that you had a student who had really low confidence when you met them. Think about all the things that you did to build up their confidence. And even though that's not attached to an actual grade or a percentage, it's still a tangible result. It's still really, really important. It's something that connects with a lot of parents because we know a lot of children struggle with their confidence, and that's why they come to us. Not always, but it does happen a lot. Now, another thing, this does feel a little bit boastful at times, but it's still really important, and that is to celebrate milestones. You know, whenever I've shared something like, I don't know, hitting an income milestone or anything, actually, even though we don't like talking about money, even when I share stuff like that, they are the posts that get the most engagement on every platform. And, you know, it's really heartening because it goes to show how our audiences, they like these stories. They don't see it as, oh, look at that person showing off. They are celebrating you and they're behind you and they're cheerleading and they're taking inspiration from that. If you're showing something is possible and it's something that someone is really striving for, you've just given them some motivation to keep going because you're showing that achieving it is realistic. And in the same sort of way, if, say, you're a tutor, you can share milestones about your students so that if a parent is thinking, oh, my child is experiencing this and I just can't see how we can help them. We've tried everything. Maybe you're that last thing they haven't tried. Maybe what you offer is that last thing. And that post gives them that faith. It galvanizes them. They think, wow, okay, I've I've got faith in this now. So celebrating milestones from all these different angles is really important. It's really nice. Remember what I said at the beginning? It's like writing a thank you letter to yourself and acknowledging your wins. That's an important part of our mindset. So, for various reasons, it's a great way to show off without feeling uncomfortable, without feeling crass. And actually, you'll find that people are really, really happy for you. So you see, showing off doesn't actually have to be boastful and it doesn't have to be uncomfortable. When I used to advertise my tuition business, I'd sometimes get the parents involved. So let's say their child had produced a really excellent piece of work, or there was a breakthrough moment. I would share it on my socials and I would tell the parent that I am. And actually, because they were so proud, they would then share it with their friends. And from a business point of view, it meant I was getting in front of more people who were my target audience. From their point of view, they were really proud. And from that child's point of view, it was such a huge boost to their confidence that I'm not just giving them praise for the sake of it. I am shouting about it to my audience. So it must be genuine. They absolutely loved it. It was a win-win situation. So, here are a few more ideas of the kind of things you can share where you're showing off, you're building that trust and positioning yourself as an authority in your niche without feeling uncomfortable. And I have sort of mentioned some of them, and I will remind you and go into a tiny bit more detail. So, the first thing is to create case studies. And I did talk about what these actually are earlier, but I'm just reminding you because it's harder in a way to construct case studies because you need to have data. You need to have recorded something beforehand. Like I said, when I say data, you could even be talking about someone's confidence. I don't necessarily mean percentages. So we're often more likely to share testimonials, but the blend of both of them can be really, really powerful. Think of case studies as a before and after. That's essentially what you're showing. Also, remember to incorporate social proof. If someone leaves a review, share the actual screenshot. If a parent gives you a shout out, a client gives you a shout out, share the screenshot. Share things that can't be faked. In the world of Canva, and it's so easy to create whatever. People can create anonymous posts. They can create posts that start with, the other day, someone was asking me when no one was actually asking them that. There's no shame in doing that. I understand that if you're trying to put a message across, that can make you sometimes feel a bit safer to do it. But this is about showing off authentically and about really making sure that when you're building that trust with people, you're positioning yourself as high as possible, if you like. So when you're sharing social proof, screenshots, they may not look pretty, but they're authentic, they're genuine. When you can display someone's name rather than keeping them anonymous, and I know that's not always easy, but we can display that. That's another signal for credibility. Another thing that's quite nice is to share behind the scenes content. So let's say you have a way of preparing lessons, or I don't know, I sometimes do this in my Instagram stories when I'm preparing content for our next mastermind session. I'll just share a little screenshot of my work in progress. It might be on a particular slide that actually gives a little teaser of what I'm about to teach. And the thing with that is that you are showing off, because you're showing people that this is the kind of thing, this is the kind of work that I do with my clients. And you're also maybe showing something really important about how you prepare that shows your expertise, that shows how thorough you are, that shows how you only know how to do this because of your level of experience. So behind the scenes content can be really interesting. And although this episode is about showing off, things like behind the scenes content, things like storytelling, all of these things are really important to connect with people. People are more likely to buy from us if they feel a bit connected, if something we have said or done really resonates with them. In the Tutors Mastermind, I recently actually ran a LinkedIn webinar. Sorry, that wasn't for the Tutors Mastermind. I ran a LinkedIn webinar for everyone. And to support that, I created a special bonus video in the Tutors Mastermind all about generating storytelling style content without feeling exposed, without feeling uncomfortable, without feeling like you're having to share what you had for dinner and every personal little detail about you just to help people get to know you. So if you're in the Tutors Mastermind, you'll find that in the social media section. And although it's got LinkedIn attached to it, and I do give some examples of LinkedIn posts, that storytelling style, it applies to everything, whether it's email marketing, whether it's podcasting, any form of content marketing, even a conversation with a parent. Storytelling is so powerful in sales. So if you want that video, you know where to find it. If you're struggling, just let me know and I'll send you the link. And of course, if you're not in the Tutors Mastermind yet, you can go to tutorsmastermind.com and see what it's all about. Now, another idea is to tie what you're talking about back to your why. So whenever you share something, tie it back to why you're doing what you're doing. For example, seeing this student regain their confidence is exactly why I started my tutoring business. It's moments like this that makes it worthwhile and makes me realize how I simply couldn't do this as a classroom teacher when I had 30 students in front of me. Can you see how I'm telling a little bit of a story? I'm showing my expertise. I've slipped in that I am a qualified teacher. By the way, that's not me saying you can't be an excellent tutor without being a qualified teacher, but we all need to keep putting our best foot forward. And the fact that I'm a qualified teacher, I know that parents like that, so I will mention it. If you're not a qualified teacher, I know there are other things that you can talk about. So I just want to clarify that because I know that it can be a sensitive topic and I've just kind of included it in an example. But the point is here that when you kind of talk about your why, it gives people an indication of your values. It gives people an indication of whether you're the kind of person who's going to prioritize the things that your client also deems important. So in conclusion, showing off is a really important part of gaining your potential clients and even sometimes existing clients' trust. It's a great way of celebrating your impact. And when you reframe it as it being a way to celebrate, being a way to write a thank you note to yourself, then actually you can start enjoying it. You don't have to feel uncomfortable. Remember, the world needs what you have to offer. That's why you offer it. And that's why you have testimonials to share, because you are making impact. There are people out there right now looking for what you offer. So don't let discomfort stop you from reaching them. Thank you, as always, for listening, and you'll hear from me for the short soundbite on Wednesday. Would you like to take this discussion further? Perhaps you have some questions or you'd like more ideas on tailoring your business. If so, book a free discovery call through the link in the show notes.